We'll give each candidate 2 minutes to initially respond. The other candidate will then have 2 minutes to respond to the first candidate, and then we'll go back to the initial candidate for a 1 minute rebuttal. And Jamie is going to ask our first question.
All right, this question is directed towards Seth Wright. In July of this year, a 7-year-old girl was shot and killed while she was playing in her front yard in Glendale. This was the 5th death in a string of gang shootings in this area. Police have said that there are around 7 to 8 gang rivalries in this neighborhood alone, and estimate that 3 to 4 of those are active. How do you intend to reduce gang violence and activity in your district?
Thank you, that's a great question. I live in Glendale, and I think many of us here actually live there as well. I think that the first step is we need to recognize that we have a problem with gangs. We need elected officials to recognize that we have a problem with gangs. We need to recognize something else. Gang problems are really family problems, because when you know these families that have gang members in them, the families are in the problem. They're part of the problem. They allow it to exist. So I think that we need to do a few things to address the gang situation. We have to do it now because it hasn't been done up to this point. One thing I think that we can do is we can start to provide the police with more tools that they need, increase their funding so that they can increase their gang unit activity. I agree we're not going to wrest our way out of the problem, but I've heard that so much, and I think some of you have too, that we need something to be done, and I think that's going to be part of the equation. Another thing that we need to do is we need to win the battle of the uniform. Gang members are out and they're recruiting the kids young, and they're offering them a uniform. We need to put in place programs to offer them a different uniform. Uniforms that are anti-gang, uniforms that are anti-drug, uniforms that are provided by organizations like what colleague Kenny Kinney and his family are doing by getting former gang members into sports, or things like supporting the United Way and the Boy Scouts of America, and getting them involved in our community, not just with English-speaking units, but also with different languages as well. And these are some of the things I think we could do.
David, your rebuttal.
Well, thank you. First, I'll take it as a compliment from Seth that I am one of those public officials who's very aware of the gang problem and done a lot to address it. The last 2.5 years, I worked for an organization, Colors of Success, that provides programming in our schools in Glendale, West Salt Lake, and Central City areas, in Ogden, intervention and prevention. That's a three-pronged approach to addressing gang violence in our community. You have to have suppression. There's no doubt that law enforcement has to play a role. You have to make sure, and there's already legislation. I've been working with the district attorney's office on legislation to fill some of the gaps in our current laws, to hold gang members accountable for criminal conduct. But you must also have intervention. You have to support programs like Colors of Success, Boys and Girls Club, that provide an intervention. Like Miles, another Miles Kinney, a former gang member who's working, the Romero alternative. You have to have intervention, but you must start young. You must have prevention. Okay? We as a state fund some prevention. There will be an effort to boost that funding, to boost the prevention. We must reach out to families. Families are not just a part of the problem, as Seth mentioned. Families are part of the solution. And a lot of the families don't realize that their youth are involved in gangs. They don't know what signs to look for. We have to involve parents. One of the great things about Colors of Success, not only did it work with the kids in the schools, but it reached out to the parents, went into the home, talked to the parents, help their children succeed in school. That's how we're going to address it. It has to be that three-pronged approach. Any approach without the three together is doomed to failure.
Okay. Well, this is the question, one of the questions I asked myself when I had to make the decision to run for office. Is our community safer now than it was almost 8 years ago when David was elected? For those of you that live in the community, ask yourselves that question. Are we safer now than some almost 8 years ago? And I don't think we are. I think there are more things that can be done, and that's why I'm running for